Assalamu alaikum, this is Maria Zulfikar welcoming you to the English news from Btv-Chattogram. Let's begin with the top stories. National Economic Council approves over 2 lakh crore taka RADP for fiscal year 2025-26. Third day of appeal hearing against cancellation of nomination papers in national polls held. Country abuzz with voting atmosphere, with voters expecting harmony and peace to be established. Opening statement and testimony on charges against Anisul Haq and Salman F. Rahman in July uprising set on February 10. US President Donald Trump declares himself Venezuela's acting president. And Sylhet Titans beat Rangpur Riders by 6 wickets in day's first match of BPL. Viewers, those were the headlines. Now moving on to the details. The National Economic Council (NEC) approved 2 lakh crore revised annual development program RADP for the current fiscal year, with the transport and communications sector witnessing the highest allocation. The approval came from a meeting held at the NEC conference room at Shere Bangla Nagar area in the capital, with Chief Advisor and NEC Chairperson Professor Dr. Muhammad Yunus in the chair. However, considering the autonomous bodies and corporations' own fund, the RADP size stood at 2,08,935 crore 53 lakh taka. Members of the Advisors Council, members of the Planning Commission and secretaries concerned were present in the meeting. Planning Advisor Professor Dr. Wahiduddin Mahmood briefed reporters after the meeting. Of the 2 lakh crore taka for 2025-26 fiscal year, 1,28,000 crore taka will come from domestic sources, while 72,000 crore will be financed from foreign sources. Compared to the original ADP, the revised program has seen a reduction of 16,000 crore taka from domestic financing and 14,000 crore taka from foreign sources, resulting in a total cut of 30,000 crore taka. In addition, the RADP allocation for autonomous bodies and corporations has been set at 8,935 crore 53 lakh taka, of which 8,930 crore 53 lakh taka will be financed from domestic sources and 5 crore taka from foreign sources. With this, the overall size of the RADP, including autonomous and corporate projects, has reached at 2,08,935 crore 53 lakh taka. The total number of projects under the revised ADP stands at 1,330. These include 1,108 investment projects, while 35 feasibility study projects, 121 technical assistance projects, and 66 projects being implemented by autonomous bodies and corporations using their own funds. A total of 286 projects have been earmarked for completion by June 30, 2026. The program also includes 170 projects funded by the Climate Change Trust Fund, reflecting the government's continued emphasis on climate adaptation and resilience. In terms of sectoral allocation, 5 sectors have received the highest priority under the revised ADP. These are transport and communication, power and energy, housing and community facilities, education and local government and rural development. On a ministry and division-wise basis, the highest allocations have gone to the local government division, followed by the road transport and highways division and the power division. The revised RADP has included some 856 new unapproved projects without allocation, while another 157 unapproved projects without allocation have been incorporated to facilitate access to foreign assistance. Additionally, 35 new unapproved projects without allocation have been included under the own financing of the implementing agencies. A total of 81 public-private partnership PPP projects have also been included in the revised program. The appeal hearing for the third day has been completed at the Election Commission for candidates seeking restoration of their candidates in the 13th National Parliamentary Election. The hearing continued from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. On the second day of hearings yesterday, appeals filed against the decisions of returning officers resulted in 58 approvals, 7 rejections and 6 cases remaining pending. Earlier on 10 January, a total of 70 appeals were heard on the first day. Of this, 52 candidates regained their candidacies while 15 appeals were rejected. The hearings will continue till 18 January. The head of the European Union Election Observation Mission, Ivaz Azabs, met with Jamaat-e-Islami Bangladesh Amir Dr. Shafiqur Rahman. During the meeting, discussions were held on the upcoming national parliamentary election in February. At the meeting, the EU delegation sought information on Jamaat's election preparations, the progress of political consensus, the law and order situation, and the issue of a level playing field in the election. Dr. Shafiqur Rahman said they're hopeful that the consensus will be finalized by tomorrow. He also said if there are any concerns regarding the election, this will first be communicated to the Election Commission and the government. However, if satisfactory solutions are not found, the matter will be conveyed to the international community. He stated that if Jamaat-e-Islami comes to power, it will maintain good relations with civilized countries and neighboring nations on the basis of equality, mentioning that the party is receiving support from all sections of society. He also pledged to ensure the safety of mothers and sisters. The Jamaat Amir also called on voters to go to the polling centers themselves and cast their own votes. He said Jamaat-e-Islami Bangladesh is in favor of reforms and has taken a position in support of a yes vote in the referendum. The country has been abuzz with election mood since the announcement of the schedule for the 13 national parliamentary elections. At the same time, the atmosphere has become full of campaign activity. In every district and in gatherings of people, discussions about the election environment naturally come up. People from all walks of life hope that the parties and candidates participating in the elections will have a spirit of fair competition. Everyone expects that the Election Commission will properly ensure that the code of conduct is being followed on the voting field. Moreover, it is hoped that those who win and form the government will focus on establishing harmony and peace in society. After a long time, the country has a seemingly favorable backdrop for the much anticipated normal elections. There is also assurance of a conducive environment. At this pivotal time of the elections, it is as if voters are preparing a basket of expectations. Based on experience and the prevailing reality, people's primary desire is the assurance that they can cast their votes themselves without any hassle. It is extremely important to ensure that the Election Commission does not face questions, objections and criticisms as it did in the past, according to analysts. Just like the Commission, there is also strong hope this time that the transparency of the voter list will be maintained. People today have a strong desire for a corruption-free nation, stability, compassion and a positive political culture. Many argue that fundamental economic reforms and the creation creation of financial and social support networks to ensure equality and justice must be prioritized. The sum of all desires is that from this new year, a stable political environment and fully people-oriented leadership should emerge, and that the representatives elected by the people will reject divisive politics, prioritize the country's economic and social development, and be mindful of maintaining social stability and peace. This is what civil society wishes for. The referendum campaign and voter motivation program under the theme "The Key to the Country is in Our Hands" as part of the ongoing nationwide program has started in Chattogram for the first time today. Lutfi Siddiqui, Special Envoy on International Affairs to the Chief Advisor, inaugurated the program at DC Park in Fozdarhat in the afternoon. Deputy Commissioner Muhammad Zahidul Islam Mia presided over, while Secretary of the Chief Advisor's Office Muhammad Mahbubul Hussain Khan, Divisional Commissioner of Chattogram Dr. Muhammad Ziauddin, among others, addressed the occasion. The speakers said such programs will play an important role in strengthening democracy and increasing people's confidence and interest in voting rights for the upcoming elections. Various documentaries and documentary videos were screened at the program to raise public awareness about the significance of elections and referendums. The importance of exercising voting rights and civic responsibilities. Earlier in the morning, Lutfi Siddiqui, Special Envoy on International Affairs to the Chief Advisor, visited various polling stations in Shitagundu, Upazila. He visited Shitagundu Government Women's College and Sadek Mostan High School polling stations. Earlier, he visited the Upazila Land Office and held a meeting with the officials. Upazila Nirbahi Officer Muhammad Fukrul Islam was present on the occasion. The International Crimes Tribunal has set 10 February as the date to begin the opening statements and witness examination after formally framing charges against Anisul Haq and Salman F. Rahman on 5 counts, including imposing a curfew during the July mass uprising and aiding and instigating killings by holding a meeting with business leaders at the Ganev Bhavan. The order was issued today by International Crimes Tribunal 1, led by Justice Ghulam Murtuza Mozumdar. Later, prosecutor Mizanul Islam briefed journalists. He said the accused assisted in instigation the killing of 30 people during the July mass uprising and in the unlawful enforcement of the curfew. Earlier, the prosecution held a hearing on the framing of charges on 22 December, while lawyers representing Anisul Haq and Salman F. Rahman presented their arguments on 6 January. Meanwhile, the same tribunal has ordered that the investigation report into the Shapla Chottur killings of 5 May 2013 be submitted by 5 February. In addition, International Crimes Tribunal 1 has directed that the investigation report in the case of the killing of 11 people, including Chhatro Dal leader Wasim in Chattogram during the July mass uprising, be submitted by 15 March. In the morning, a total of 11 accused arrested in these 3 separate cases were produced before the tribunal. Now, international news. U.S. President Donald Trump has declared himself the acting president of Venezuela. He made this announcement posting a photo of himself on his social media account, Truth Social, yesterday. Under the photo, it is said that he will assume the position of acting president of Venezuela in January 2026. Earlier, on January 3, the U.S. military took away President Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores from their official residence in Caracas, the capital of Venezuela, to New York City of the USA. Both of them have been charged with drug trafficking in the United States, and preparations are underway for trial in a U.S. court. Maduro and Celia are currently in federal prison in New York City. At least 100 people have been killed in Venezuela and in this military operation while seizing Maduro. After the seizure of Maduro and his wife, Trump said that the United States will now oversee Venezuela's oil resources. A few days ago, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the U.S. would control Venezuela's oil resources indefinitely and would play an active role in the country's government reforms. Then, at the appropriate time, full ownership of the oil would be transferred to the Venezuelan government. Iran has warned it will retaliate if attacked by the U.S. as news agencies and activists report hundreds of protesters have now been killed in an escalating government crackdown. A source in Tehran said on Sunday that things there are very, very bad. A lot of people have been killed. They were firing live rounds. It's like a war zone. The streets are full of blood. They are taking away bodies in trucks. The British broadcaster BBC counted about 180 body bags in footage from a morgue near Tehran. The US-based human rights activists news agency said it has verified the deaths of 495 protesters and 48 security personnel nationwide. The agency said another 10,600 people have been detained over the fortnight of unrest. The US has threatened to strike Iran over the killing of protesters, and President Donald Trump said on Saturday that the US stands ready to help as Iran is looking at freedom. Trump did not elaborate on what the U.S. was considering. He has been briefed on options for military strikes on Iran. Other approaches could include boosting anti-government sources online, using cyber weapons against Iran's military, or imposing more sanctions, officials told the Wall Street Journal. Iran's parliament speaker warned that if the U.S. attacked both Israel and U.S. military and shipping centers in the region, would become legitimate targets. The protests, which began over soaring inflation, are now calling for an end to the clerical rule of Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Iran's attorney general said anyone protesting would be considered an enemy of God, an offense that carries the death penalty, while Khamenei has dismissed demonstrators as a bunch of vandals seeking to please Trump. On Sunday, the country announced 3 days of mourning for what is called martyrs killed in Iranian national battle against the US and Israel. Donald Trump has urged Cuba to make a deal or face consequences, warning that the flow of Venezuelan oil and money would now stop. The U.S. president has been turning his attention to Cuba since the U.S. forces seized Venezuela's leader Nicolas Maduro in a 3 January raid on its capital, Caracas. Venezuela, a long-standing ally of Cuba, is believed to send around 35,000 barrels of oil a day to the island. Cuba's foreign minister responded by saying his nation retained the right to import fuel without interference, while its president said no one dictates what we do. The Trump administration's tactic of confiscating sanctioned Venezuelan oil tankers has already begun to worsen a fuel and electricity crisis in Cuba. On Friday, it seized a 5th oil tanker it said was carrying sanctioned oil from Venezuela. Cuba lived for many years on large amounts of oil and money from Venezuela. In return, Cuba provided security services for the last 2 Venezuelan dictators, but not anymore. Trump posted on Truth Social on Sunday, "There will be no more oil or money going to Cuba. Zero. I strongly suggest they make a deal before it is too late." Trump did not specify the terms of a deal or the consequences Cuba could face, but Cuban Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez said the Caribbean island nation had the absolute right to import fuel from any willing exporter without interference or subordination to the unilateral coercive measures of the United States. He added that unlike the US, Cuba does not lend itself to blackmail or military coercion against other states. Now, sports news. BPL. Sylhet Titans delivered a dominant all-round performance to secure a convincing 6-wicket victory over the Rangpur Riders in the 23rd match of the BPL at the Sylhet International Cricket Stadium. After being put into bat by Titans captain Mehdi Hassan Miraz, the Rangpur Riders struggled from the outset. A disciplined Sylhet bowling attack, spearheaded by spinners Nasum Ahmed and the economical Moin Ali, wreaked havoc on the top order. Rangpur lost both openers early, including Kylie Myers for a duck, and never recovered. Brief resistance came from Liton Dash, 22 of 12, Kujhdil Shah, 30 of 24, and Mahmudullah, 29 of 23. But regular wickets prevented the formation of any substantial partnerships. Rangpur were ultimately bundled out for a modest total of 114 in 19.1 overs. The Titans bowlers were exceptional, with left-arm spinner Nasum Ahmed and pace bowler Shohidul Islam each claiming 3 wickets, while Moin Ali claimed 2 wickets for just 8 runs in his 4 overs. Chasing a low target of 115, the Sylhet Titans opening pair got off to a quick start effectively, killing the chase early. Opener Tawfiq Khan provided the early impetus with a brisk 33 of 22 balls. The innings was then masterfully anchored by Parvez Hussain Imon,